Cheers and welcome my friends, I'm Horath Drak and this is my Stellaris tips and tricks video for resource management. I try to compile some of the experiences that I made during my long Great Old Ones Let's Play, and I wanted to share with you some of the mistakes I made and things that I learned from it and things that worked very well. If you have questions or if you have things that worked for you, then please leave it in the comments, and if this video helped you, then please give me a like. Thanks. The most important resource in Stellaris are minerals. Minerals are symbolized by this diamond-shaped red icon over here, and you see the amount of minerals that you have by the left number and your monthly gain or loss represented by the right number over here. Minerals are most important because they represent future income as well as the current state. What does that mean? Future income, because you need minerals to build buildings on the surface that give you more income. So I could, for example, build a mineral building on that mineral tile, and that means that I'm converting minerals that I currently have into future income. As soon as this tile is being worked by a population, we're going to get more minerals. You need minerals to clear these tile blockers so that you can get more income. Minerals is what keeps you moving forward, and what lets your empire grow. You need minerals to build ships, obviously. So for example, if I were to build a corvette here, that costs me minerals and time, of course. You need minerals to build these spaceport modules. You need also minerals to upkeep your fleet. You can see that we are paying a ship maintenance upkeep on our mineral income, as well as paying ship upkeep in energy credits. So ships cost minerals as well. You do have a certain amount of minerals that you can store. We have a storage capacity of 15,000 minerals. You can increase that by building storage facilities on your planets. You can build mineral silos. Each mineral silo increases your storage capacity by 1,000. But yeah, if you are planning on doing anything in the future, save your minerals, optimize your minerals. They are the most important resource that you have. Energy credits are what you need to keep up the status quo of your empire. You can see your energy credits up here, the circle with the lightning sign through it, yellow circle. On the left side you see the amount of energy credits that you currently have, and on the right you see the gain of energy credits that you have. And you need energy credits basically to keep the lights lit, to keep your fleets moving, everything to upkeep the status quo. You can see that we're paying for stations, for buildings, for ships, for the army, and for our modules on our spaceports. Now you also need energy credits to remove tile blockers on the planet. If I were to remove that one, that will cost me 100 energy as well as 100 minerals. So you generally want to strive to keep energy credits about balanced. You don't want to get a huge surplus of them. I mean, if you can, it's good, but the minerals take priority. The minerals represent the future. The energy credits represent the present. So if you have to choose between them, choose the minerals and just keep the energy credits balanced. You need energy credits for colonizing. Planets are not instantly colonized as soon as the colonization ship reaches the planet, but instead it takes some time in the bar for about 1 year, where you're paying 8 energy credits per month to establish that colony. That is another use for energy credits, but generally energy credits are less important as long as you have enough of it. One important thing is you're not paying energy credits for stations or buildings that give you energy already. You can see that we're not paying any maintenance for this energy station on Konagi 7, but we are paying maintenance for that research station over here on Konagi 4. Paying 1 maintenance for that, and that is generally how it is. So we're not paying any maintenance for that power plant. It just produces some power, but we are paying upkeep of 1 for this hydroponics farm. We are paying No upkeep for this monument because it doesn't need any energy to operate. But that frontier clinic, that also costs us 1 maintenance. So maintenance, status quo, minerals represents future income. So keep your energy credits balanced. Influence, the last of the 3 resources, represents the ability of your empire to project power inside and outside. It is represented by this purplish person abstraction with a halo around its head. And you can see that we have 154 influence currently and that we're gaining +4 at the moment. Now, what does projecting influence on the outside mean? It's mainly placing frontier outposts in systems. That costs you 200 influence and some minerals to build a frontier outpost in a system. And that has the effect that it basically spreads borders around it, frontier outposts. And that is useful to deny your neighbors valuable worlds to colonize. We are keeping this ocean world until we have the time or resources to colonize it. You have to pay an upkeep. You can see that we are currently paying 2 influence for frontier outposts. So it costs you 200 flat if you build when you build them, and then 1 per month to keep them up. There are other uses for influence though. Projecting power on the inside is mainly done through policies. So we have edicts over here that work galaxy-wide. I could, for example, start granting engineering research funds, and that would increase my engineering speed by 30%, my research speed, but we would pay 1 influence per month for that. And there is also another form of using influence to project power by putting edicts on planets. That is a flat amount compared to a monthly amount that you pay for it. And these generally last 10 years. So I could go for more energy credits from this planet. I could go for more migration attraction, reduce building costs. They are generally pretty useful. You also need influence to build buildings. Certain buildings do require you to spend influence. If I were to go to Schlurg over here, and I wanted to build a monument to purity, I would have to pay 8.5 influence to build that thing. So it's generally social buildings or advanced buildings, planet unique buildings that you need influence to build. The last use for influence is recruiting leaders. You go to the leader tab, and there you can see all the leaders of your empire. And over each category there's a recruit button, and you can see that governors, these guys would cost me 50 influence, a flat amount again. And this guy, because he's eager, would cost less. You can research a reduction to leader recruitment cost. But you generally want to keep some influence in your back pocket, because nothing is worse than leaving, for example, a scientist spot open because your previous scientist died. You can see that I haven't assigned a scientist to engineering, and that is why our research is down by 25%, which is really bad over the long run. So keep your influence up. I'm gonna show you how to increase your influence later in the video. There are a couple of ways to increase your influence. There are actually 3 distinct ways. 1 through buildings, 2 through tech, and 3 through rivalries. Now buildings, this empire capital complex increases our monthly influence gain by 1. You can research that building. That leads us over to tech. Certain techs in the society tree increase your monthly influence gain. We're currently profiting from planetary unification, colonial centralization, and galactic administration. The galactic administration tech allowed me to build that empire capital complex. Speaking of that, if you conquer a planet where that empire capital complex is built, it doesn't seem that it gets destroyed. So one way to increase your influence even further is by specifically conquering planets where that one is, because normally that building is empire unique, but it seems that you can capture it and increase your influence that way. Now, the third way is through rivalries. You can see that we are gaining 1.5 influence from our rivals. We currently have 2 rivals, the United Hisma States over here, our neighbors. that are somewhat bigger than we are. They are equivalent and have a higher tech level than we do. And the Hygienati planets that are equivalent, and overwhelming as well. But we don't have a third rival, so I could declare these guys as a rival, and they will give me 0.62 influence each month. Or what I could do is I could rival these guys. They are a fallen empire, way stronger than I am. And then I would get 2.5 influence each month. So the relative strength between you and your rival determines the amount of influence that you gain from that rivalry. Also, I think some of your ethics influence the amount of rivalries that you, the amount of influence that you get from rivalries. I think fanatic militarists gain some more influence off of that, but I'm not quite sure. I think that might have been patched. And the last possibility of gaining more influence is to basically reduce your expenses. Get rid of edicts that you no longer need, and get rid of border outposts that you no longer need. I had a border or frontier outpost in that system to colonize it later. Now I've colonized it, and consequently I destroyed that frontier outpost, and I'm no longer paying that 1 influence upkeep for it. I hope that helps. If you are in a pinch and really desperately need minerals, then one way that you can get the minerals that you need is by trading away your research. Preferably you trade that research to people that are as far away from you as possible, so that they can't use your own tech against you. But if you go to trading over here, I'm gonna give them my research agreement, and it's gonna be one-sided, and then I'm gonna take minerals from them, and I'm gonna balance it out until this number reaches 1. They need at least 1 more reason to do the trade than to not do the trade. So you can carefully balance that out, and then you can get some minerals for your current research in a pinch. I wouldn't recommend doing that always, but if you're really starved for it, then trade some research for minerals. You might ask yourself, especially at the beginning of the game, should I build mining stations or should I build planetary buildings? As a general rule, I think planetary buildings are worth it more than mining station, especially if as the game progresses you will get better and better techs that make planetary buildings way superior to mining stations. But in the beginning, even though mining stations are a bit more expensive, if I were to build a mining station over here, I would have to pay 90 for that mining station. Depending on your leaders, it might be less. But we would pay 90 minerals for a station that gives us 2 minerals and costs us 1 energy credits. Whereas if I were to build it on the planet, I would gain 2 minerals for 60 mineral investment and a maintenance of 1. So at the very start of the game, mining stations aren't that bad because you're starved for pops. I would have to put a pop down here to work it to gain the minerals. But as you progress into the game, you want to go and build up your planets more and more and invest less and less in the mining stations, because planetary buildings tech up and you're gonna get power plants 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're gonna get way more output from a planet than you get from mining stations. But at the beginning they are worth investing if you still have fewer pops. But I wouldn't go for a mining station over a planetary building all of the time, even in the beginning. If you have 3 pops that don't work any tiles, then first invest in the planetary buildings. For example, here I should build some hydroponics farms to grow these populations further before I even consider building these mining stations in my home system. As the game progresses further and further, I would recommend that you specialize your planets further and further. Game is definitely set up for heavy specialization for some planets, and there are a couple of ways that you can make use of it. This is my energy planet, for example. We're putting out 148 energy credits from this planet alone by making use of the power hub. This building gives us plus 15% energy planets from this planet, and as you can imagine, the more energy things you have on that planet, the heftier that bonus gets. Also, there are edicts that increase the energy and minerals and research even further. If I were to go for capacity overload over here, we could push that up to 168, so we're gaining another 20 credits just by using that. The same is for mineral planets. We're putting out 80 minerals on this planet, and it is not even fully optimized. We're making use of the mineral processing plant that increases minerals by 15%. We are also making use of the slave processing facility because we are a slaver nation, so that increases slave mineral output even further. And then there are also governors that you can use to push your specialized planets further. We do have another governor on here that increases slave mineral output. We do have one on Ophelia, our research planet, that increases the research even further. This planet alone is doing, let's say, about 2/3, about 1/3 of the research of the whole empire, just by specializing this planet heavily towards that. And we could go even further by putting edicts on it and putting an observatory module on the spaceport. So the game is really geared towards specializing your planets, and I would recommend doing that. The happiness of your population can make a pretty big difference in resource output. Happiness is capped by the habitability of a planet. So for the Great Old One species, this planet has a habitability of 70% because we are originating from an ocean world and this is an Arctic world. You can increase the habitability of planets by researching things in the society tag. But we're capped at 70% happiness because of the 70% habitability over here. The 90% over here is a bit misleading because it shows you only the highest value for all your races. But we are mainly Great Old Ones on this planet. All the other races are slaves. And you can see that we don't get any bonus from these guys. They're just putting out the face value of these things. So they are capped at their 70% happiness. Now, if we go to Carnegie, this is an ocean world, and therefore it has a base habitability of 80% for our people, and because we have researched some tech, it has a 90% habitability for our race, the Great Old Ones. And most of these guys are at least 82% happy. Which means that we get a 10% bonus to all the resources that are produced on this planet. 10% more energy, 10% more science output. These guys aren't happy, so we're not getting that because they are slaves. I wouldn't be happy as a slave either. We're getting the 10% here on minerals, basically on everything. And then on our home planet, which by default has a habitability of 100%, because that is where our race evolved and grew. There we have people that are 92% happy, and that results in a joyful bonus of 20% to all the resources that we are producing here, which can be pretty big. So definitely have a look at the happiness of your planets. It can pay big time. Having the right race and Popwork, a specific tile, can make a pretty big difference in your resource output if you try to maximize that. For example, we're here on our mineral world, and you can see that I do have this autonomous fabricators building on that tile that was already present before I colonized that planet. That seems to be some leftover building from a precursor race. But you can see that we're producing 21 instead of the 12 that is the baseline for this thing, and that is because we're having a slave Popwork this tile. Slaves get bonus production of minerals and food because they can be driven harder to work than normal population. And then this species is also strong from their traits, so we get another 5% mineral income. There are other races that have it even better. These guys are also slaves, and they are very strong, which puts out 10% increased mineral output. additionally to all the other bonuses that we get from having slaves work in our mines. Robots do get a 10% bonus to minerals, so it's also a good thing to have robots work your mineral things if you are not a slave race. It depends a bit on the race that you are playing, but overall it can pay to move the right pops to the right tiles. These guys are also agrarians, so they also get a food bonus additionally to the bonus that they get from being enslaved. So they are really good slaves, very good slave race, and that can make a pretty big difference. If I were to optimize this planet with putting only this race on there for the food and the mineral tiles, I think I could increase the production from 80 to at least 100 or 120. Could make a pretty big difference. Just keep that in mind. Picking the right tags from the beginning can make quite a difference over a long game. Now, what are the right tags? I think the right tags for picking early are tags that give you percentage bonuses, like the powered exoskeletons that give you 5% increased minerals. The sooner you pick this, the longer you profit from it. Just imagine how many minerals you spend over the course of a whole game, and then just adding 5% on it can make a difference. Also, I always try to take the increased influence tags that give you a flat increase to influence. There are a couple of them, and I would always try to pick them. And I would also try to pick the increasing of the lifespan of your leaders, because that can make a pretty big difference if your level 5 scientist lives 10 years longer or if he doesn't. Can make a real difference. And the 10% food, it isn't as potent, but because food isn't shared over your whole empire, but it's planet specific. But you can use less tiles to produce the food to feed your population if you get a lot of these food increases, and then you can use the free tiles to work something else. So choosing these tags, I think, is a pretty good idea as soon as you get them. Hooray! You made it to the end of the video. If you found any of these tips helpful, then please give the video a like so that I can show up in search rankings and help even more people. If you want to know more about Stellaris, you might want to check out the playlist. I got some other tutorial and tips videos for Stellaris that might help you. If you have any questions or comments, then please leave them in the comment section. And I do hope that I see you in one of my Let's Play series. Thanks, bye bye.